Hello, and welcome to the Wholesome Fertility channel. I am Michelle Orovitz, and this is really my first YouTube video. I am a host of a podcast called the Wholesome Fertility Podcast, and I've been doing that since 2018, and this is the first time I'm actually doing YouTube. So in YouTube fashion, I'm going to ask you to hit like and subscribe to this channel because I will be giving lots of amazing free fertility tips that you will not want to miss. And I've been doing this for a while, so I have collected lots and lots of information. I love looking into studies, and my background is in Chinese medicine. So I have an in-person practice where I specialize in fertility, and I practice Chinese medicine, acupuncture, and I'm also a fertility coach, so I work online. And this is kind of like an introduction video. Today I'm going to give you an overview of Chinese medicine, what it is, what it entails, and how it can help fertility health. So Chinese medicine doesn't just encompass acupuncture. I know a lot of times people think acupuncture and they just kind of focus on acupuncture, but Chinese medicine as a whole is an umbrella, and acupuncture is a very important pillar in Chinese medicine. Another very important pillar is Chinese herbs. And then there are a lot of other things in between where we use other tools such as cupping and moxibustion or auriculotherapy. So there are many different aspects of Chinese medicine that we practice under the big scope of Chinese medicine. So Chinese medicine has been around since 3,000 years. They think it was even longer, but there was a lot of book burning and a lot of information was lost. So as of what we know now, it's about 3,000 years old. And it's really based and founded on Taoism. Taoism really means the way. So when our bodies are in harmony and we live accordance with the Tao, which cannot really be explained technically, because once you explain it, you're really not explaining it. You're not really talking about the real Tao. It's this mysticism and this aspect of all of nature and all of reality, basically. So it's very hard to pinpoint and put into words to describe it, but it can be felt and it can live through us, and it does live through us. But when we live in accordance with the Tao, what that really means is in accordance with the way, and the way of nature, honoring our own physical nature and knowing that our nature and our bodies reflect basically the whole of nature that surrounds us. So the truth is we are nature and nature is us, and we are walking ecosystems. And when something's off with our own internal balance, that is when we start to have symptoms. So most of the time we look at symptoms such as infertility, although I don't like to use the I word, because most of the time it's a very temporary state from my experience. It's a temporary state that typically is really a symptom of the body. So many times reproductive health can show up as menstrual cycle irregularities, hypothalamic amenorrhea, anovulation, which means you're not ovulating. In men, it can be sperm count, it can be morphology, it can be motility, and it can also be the DNA of both the egg and the sperm, and it could be egg quality. So many times our overall vitality reflect in reproductive health. So here's a really important key to note is that your body does not prioritize reproductive health. Let me say that again. Your body's priority is not reproductive health. And that is because the body's priority is survival. And if survival is not working out, it is going to scrap reproductive health and focus on a way more important priority, which is to live. And when our bodies don't have the reserves they need in order to function, or they don't have that bank account, that energetic qi, which is in Chinese medicine, life force vitality, when that qi is not strong enough or robust enough, or if a woman's blood is not as robust, then what it's going to do is it's going to forget the extras, which in essence is reproductive health, and it's going to focus more on hoarding that qi for survival. So in other words, when you are going through fertility challenges, it's basically a symptom or a sign that your body is telling you something's off and I'm not able to use all of my resources towards reproductive health. And what I do and a lot of other practitioners do and even doctors do is really try to figure out what is it? What is it that the body needs that it doesn't have right now? Or what is getting in the way? So to make it more simple, a lot of times us as practitioners in traditional Chinese medicine, we don't really consider us as the ones that are actually healing. It's really the body that's healing itself. So we create an atmosphere or an environment for the body to heal itself. And when the body's not happy and it doesn't have the right environment, it will create symptoms. And we don't treat symptoms, we treat patterns. So for one symptom, there can be lots of different patterns. So one person can have the same symptom because they have too much cold in their body, another one from stagnation, another one from deficiency. So it really depends on the person. And sometimes people will have deficiency where they don't have enough reserves, or sometimes they'll have too much excess or blockages, in essence, that get in the way of the body's ultimate functioning. In the real world, people have both. And what I find is most of the time, I treat a lot of different patterns that are simultaneously occurring in the body. So Chinese medicine looks at a lot of different things in regards to harmony. So one of the key things that it looks at is something called the yin and the yang. So I'm always going to refer back to this video if you don't know what the yin and the yang are, but it is really important for you to know because it's important if you are on the fertility journey that you understand your body and that you understand conceptually what to look for when things are not in balance. So the yin and the yang are basically two opposite forces. So the yin could be seen as the egg, and it's more cool and it has more moisture and it is inert and slow moving, a night energy, and the moon is considered more yin. Whereas the yang could be seen as the sperm, and it also is hot, dry, active, and fast moving. And it also can be represented by the day and the sun. So if you think about plants and what they need and how nature thrives, it needs both the yin and the yang. If you have too much sun for 24 hours, then the leaves are going to dry and they're not going to do as well, and they're going to need some time at night. And also people are going to be really restless. Imagine constantly being in the sun. And yes, it does happen some places, and it does impact the rhythms of the body. So it's important to have the combination of both. And that's why we have night. And then if we didn't have enough sun, obviously that would impact the plants as well and growth. So we need both. And so when both act harmoniously, it could be considered what is referred to in mainstream medicine as homeostasis. And this is basically the balance in our hormones, and it reflects in the menstrual cycle. We have the follicular phase, which is a little more yin, and it's cooling, whereas the luteal phase is more yang and heating. And you'll notice with the basal body temperature, the difference in the temperature, and it really shows. And now if you think about like the follicular phase as being more yin, guess what? It also has that, it starts to produce more of the cervical mucus around that time leading into ovulation. So you have a little bit more of that yin substance, whereas the luteal phase, you can see that it increases in temperature as well. So estrogen is considered yin and progesterone is considered yang. I can go into that in a whole other video because there's a lot more to that. But just as the basics, this is really the concept of how everything gets balanced in the body and how everything in life reflects the yin and the yang. When the yin and the yang go out of whack, that is when we start to have symptoms. That is when we find disharmony happening in our body. And how does that happen? Well, it happens when we override our natural tendencies. We override and don't listen to what our bodies are telling us. So for example, sometimes we want to fit into that bikini. We decide, okay, I'm not going to eat even though I'm hungry. So you're ignoring that hunger cue. Over time, your body's going to stop sending you that cue and you're going to lose that ability. Same thing with thirst. If you don't drink enough, over time, you're going to lose that feeling. It's almost like you don't use it, you lose it. There's like a disconnect between the body's communication and our minds. And over time, that really can happen because the body adapts to everything, even things that are not great habits. We can see this in work. Sometimes we'll overwork ourselves because we want to get that bonus, and we'll stay up all night and we won't get the energy that we need or the sleep that we need, and we're tired. And so ultimately, it's just about not really listening to our body or eating foods that we know are not great or eating more than is really satisfying because we like the taste, and we're not really eating to eat, we're eating to taste the food. And so then we overdo it. So it's really about not listening. If we don't listen to our bodies, that ultimately impacts our symptoms. So in Chinese medicine, we really look at the body, we look at the patterns, we look at what's going on. And also, it's not only about the yin and the yang, it's also about our elements. So we have elements, and all of our organs have an element, and they also have an emotion, and they have a lot of different qualities that are unique to them. So our bodies are this intricate, beautiful symphony that happens, and there's so many different aspects to making it work. Another really great example of how that can happen is also endocrine disruptors or toxins from the outside, which confuse the body. So those are things that we don't necessarily realize even, or realize that we have a choice in how we pick products, but those are the things that can also confuse our body and then disrupt our normal harmony. So through things like herbals, which can help the elements, more of the elemental aspects of the body to harmonize, we can help create that harmony, but through acupuncture as well. So what's the difference? So the herbals are the chemical aspect where they can really get into the cells in a different type of way, where it's able to manipulate a little bit more. So increasing heat or certain qualities and get into the body to influence those things. And it does have a little bit of a crossover with acupuncture, but acupuncture works a little differently. Acupuncture works to stimulate the body's natural healing response. So it gets things more oxygenated. It brings more oxygen, it brings more flow, and it brings more movement to the blood, which can help ultimately support and create new blood. So if there's something that's too stagnated and it's not moving, then it's going to be sluggish, and we want to get things moving. And it also can help organs and systems to function better. Another thing that acupuncture can do is not just treat the person's pattern and harmonize it, but it also works really amazingly locally. So some of the points that we use are distant points, and those distant points, even though it's on the hand, it can impact your digestion, which seems very strange. But how it works is that you have these internal meridians that do come up for air. That's how I kind of like to use it. They come up for air, which means they come to the surface of the skin. And when you stimulate those points, it can stimulate where the channel runs deeper in your body, and some of them run into those organs, so they can stimulate different areas even though they're far away. And then there's also local points, and that works amazingly on the pelvis to get blood flow. So whether you're trying naturally or doing IVF, acupuncture could be amazing because it gets blood flow. So blood flow to the uterus, the ovaries, the pelvis is amazing. And then simultaneously, we're working on herbs and then supplements. So, and also nutrition. So when you're doing that and it's impacting the blood and increasing the nutrients, that's one aspect. But then you want to get all those nutrients to get to the pelvis area so that they're able to feed the uterus and the ovaries and impact egg health and impact the uterine lining. And by getting the blood flow and putting local points in those areas, you're actually calling the body to that area and you're calling the blood to that area. And so that's another really amazing part to it. Also, if you're doing IVF, you want those medications to work optimally. So you're calling the blood to those areas, you're able to get the blood that's medicated to those areas to make it optimal. So now that you know a little bit more how acupuncture and Chinese medicine works, and even Chinese herbs work, you might want to find somebody who works and specializes in fertility health. And yes, it does make a difference. How do I know? Because in the beginning, I was a general acupuncturist. And general means you're doing a lot of different things and you're not spending too much time on one specific specialty. And it does make a difference when people understand that because, for example, if you're doing IVF, somebody who specializes in fertility will know not to give you herbs because the herbs can impact the hormones and you don't want to cross that over. They will do more supplements or supplements that have been shown in studies to help and are more compatible with the IVF process. They'll also understand more or less what you're going through as far as IVF retrievals and how to impact the egg quality and really understand also what to do for IVF transfers and help uterine lining and receptivity. So it is important to find somebody who really understands the whole process of fertility and the menstrual cycle. So if you are looking for somebody, I highly recommend going to aborm.org, and there you can find a practitioner that is close to you. If you're looking for a fertility coach, you are looking at her. I also do fertility coaching online, so I am able to help from a distance. To find out more about searching for an acupuncturist on ABORM, I will have all those links below this video. So if you like this video, hit like and subscribe so that you can follow for more helpful tips on your fertility journey.